we're right outside of a major city. We're right outside R5, right outside of other situations that could arise. You know, there's also, you know, the officers all across America had a rough year this year. We shouldn't be having more of a meeting on how we can increase their pay and not reduce what they have. And they have been dealt a bad card this year, and you know, and it's not getting any better. I also want to ask, have you guys done a risk assessment of reducing your police force? What would that do? What happens if someone gets sick? What about a Sunday night, Sunday morning? Are we covered? Can we hold the line? So has a risk assessment been conducted? Just a question I would...
No. But I mean, I'll say this, I'm not in favor of any reductions in the police department.
Right.
I think everybody here knows where I stand on this issue.
When budgets get passed in Congress, the #1 budget gets passed is security, DOD, Department of Defense. It should be no different for, you know, not just police, first responders. The Township, the county should look, and if you need help, we should be looking outwards. We're raising our taxes. Well, guys, why? We're under war. We're at war. We're not, and there's no end in sight. So please, under the situation that our country is dealing with right now, consider this budget, please. The other thing I just want to say, you know, I come from New York. We moved out here to suburbs, and we love it. You know, so great community. I think you guys, you know, getting with the cards you've done dealt with, you're doing what you can, but really we need to move forward with this budget, and I support it.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Mr. Toner.
Hey, Toner from Brook Crossing. I come to speak in favor of the tax hike. We have a great police department. We don't need anything to happen to this police department. We have a good road crew who works very difficultly with what they have to work with. I've noticed here tonight one of the trucks have over 100,000 miles on it. That's unspeakable. I have a lot invested, my wife and I, in the home we have in Brook Crossing. We put a lot of our retirement money in it so we can move here because it had a police department. We need the areas in our development, the roads, the curbs, repaired. They haven't been done for 10 years. We've been here for 10 years. The roads are cracking. The curbs are coming up. With a bad winter, this winter, with a lot of freezing and falling, it'll even get worse. So we need this tax. So I speak in favor of the new real estate tax.
Thank you, Mr. Toner. Mr. Leahy, you want to speak?
Thank you to the board. Everybody knows, I think, for the most part, that I'm a police officer. I just want to say right now that, Mr. Porter, you're pretty much reiterating what Mr. Hogan said about 3 weeks ago. We have an issue in this township. We're kicking the can down the road if we do not address it now. The budget for 2016 will not only affect every resident in this township, which I wish there was more out there tonight. I'm sad there isn't. But I know from speaking with some of them what they think. What are we here for? What are you here for? You know, I'm going to speak frankly here. What are you guys here for? You're for us. Is that not true? Are they here for us? The gentleman in the green shirt over there spoke of continuing, threats that we have in our society. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, threats that we have in our society on a national level are one thing, but what we have on a local level are drug addiction, the results of drug addiction, which means property crimes. It means your car being broken into in the middle of the night. It means thefts from our, our local stores, whether it be Triple Fresh or, we only have a couple, but the results of local crime is a detriment to our society. And what do we need to do to keep that from happening? Chief Porter, Brian Simmons, Mark McKinney, where you at? Brian Simmons, or Kevin Simmons, where you guys at? These guys. I've been here 11 years. 11 years I've lived in this township. I love it. I know for a fact, when I go to work at night, I go to work, when I work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., I know for a fact that my wife and my 2 kids are going to be protected from these guys. And Gina, where you at? Is she here? These men and women. You going to take that away from these people? Are we going to diminish our force? Are we going to diminish our force because of money? Because of what we deserve as residents? Because of what you should do for us? No, it ain't going to happen. And if it does happen, Mr. Porter and whoever else doesn't vote for this budget, guarantee you, you're out. You're out. Thank you.
Joe, in response. A lot's being directed towards me, and I understand. There's a lot of things that I know internally that you don't know, like time card abuse, things that I've identified to this board. And it doesn't specifically have to do with the police department at all. There's other departments here where things are not being done properly and money's not being spent properly. Some people might not even be eligible for overtime based upon what was going on with the time cards. So it does matter what we're spending. If you look at what we're spending compared to other municipalities to gauge what level that we're at versus other municipalities, it's very important to analyze that, because if you do not control this budget, you won't control the next, and the next, and the next. And your properties will be taxed severely going forward. It does matter to look at this. You can say that you just want safety, but no one up here is against safety. We're not saying that we're not. And I don't know why the state trooper is being brought into this, but this township used to have a 4-hour window with the state troopers. The state troopers have radar in their car. They can control speeding all by themselves. It takes 2 to 3 of our officers to control speeding on these roads, and that's a lot of speeding's going on. We're getting a lot of complaints about speeding, and it's no fault of our own officers. It's just that the General Assembly, for some reason, doesn't allow local police officers to work radar. The state troopers also have a lot of resources that our township does not have, that we're reinventing the wheel in some places, such as detectives and other areas. But the police department's not the only department that we have. We have other departments where there is money being spent, and it does matter how it's being spent. And you should care how it's being spent. That's all I have to say.
Actually, pass it now. Sure. My microphone.
I understand. In the microphone I had. I think, Ed, when you talk about the state police and the fact they can use radar and all that, I don't think the overwhelming majority of the township cares as much about that as they do about response time. And state coverage response time is a lot different than local police response time. Ask anybody here who's spoken up either at this meeting or the last meeting about response time, and Mrs. Lowe spoke about it earlier tonight. Mr. Toner spoke about it with our last meeting about the fire companies. I mean, to me, the overwhelming majority of the township is in favor of this budget. So to me, it makes sense. I mean, we're elected by the people to do what the people want. So if the people are telling you something, and the people, and I'm not speaking to you directly, I'm speaking to all of us, that the overwhelming majority of the East Fallowfiedl residents want this tax and want this budget, then as elected officials, it's our responsibility to do what the people who elected us to this office want.
I understand, Joe. The response time's always being addressed, and it's really hard to even analyze that, because anything can even happen when an officer shows up. Someone can have a gun on them, someone can actually shoot somebody on the spot. I think response time is looked at a lot. I know of a resident that used to live near me. She had called the police department and she didn't get a response at all for 2.5 days. And she had called that she had saw somebody in her backyard, and she actually was going to come down and do a citizens by request on that. But her husband had just passed away and she didn't come down. I'm not faulting the officers, I just realized that response time is something that is not really a factor in many different ways because it depends on the incident, what's going on. I wouldn't say that the township is overall in favor of a tax. This isn't an easy room to come down when you have lots of officers standing in the back and looking at you and say, hey, I don't want a tax, I don't want this. But we saw that, Joe. You saw emails coming in where residents are saying, no way do I want this tax. You saw that happening. We just had an election where one candidate campaigned specifically against a property tax, and one candidate campaigned stating that what was going to happen in this township and that she was for a tax. And we saw the results of that come by the majority of the people of this township. I don't see how you can say with the little bit that's in this room, I don't even feel like this is a fair meeting for the residents. It's 3 days before Christmas to even vote through a tax at large. And the easiest thing to do is, as one resident said, is to put the fire tax on the ballot, which we can as a board, put that on the ballot like other municipalities have, and let the people vote on that tax.
It's not only the fire tax.
More so than that, I think you made mention of the emails. I think I received 3 emails out of close to 8,000 residents who were against the tax. And I've not spoken with any, three emails were received. I spoke with one of those residents who emailed. Not one other person that I've spoken with, and I talked to a lot of East Fallowfiedl residents, have told me that they are in favor of cuts. They're not in favor of this budget. That's overwhelming to me. And again, I haven't spoken to all, almost 8,000 residents, but I've spoken to a lot. Probably 1,000. Maybe more. So to me, this is the right thing to do for everybody, for the residents, for the entire township, for our employees too. I mean, as a supervisor, we have a responsibility to our residents. I think we also have a responsibility to the people who we employ. I mean, we definitely have that responsibility to them as well. I mean, I can't fathom, laying anybody off, whether it's police, whether it's road crew, whether it's our office, any department. I mean, the fire department also does a tremendous job for us. And we're looking at an increase in giving them money as well in this budget. I do agree with you with the can't, for a long time, this has been put off, and probably should have been done years ago. But this is the time to do it. For all the times it was put off and the tax was not put in place, now is the right time to do it. So I urge everybody on this board to vote in favor of this budget. I know, Mr. Brazy, you had your hand up, and I know this gentleman behind you had his hand up as well. If you guys could come up here to the microphone.
Gentlemen, I appreciate the effort that you're all putting in and the diligence. And Mr. Porter, I absolutely agree that finding ways to reduce spending and to be more responsible with spending, absolutely a critical component of this community moving forward, staying safe, restoring projects, moving forward with road repairs, all of those things. Everybody here is willing to make that contribution, and you're making that contribution in finding those mistakes in spending that are being made. They're all part of the same thing. They all have to be done. And things cost more now than they did 20 years ago. They cost more than they did 10 years ago. 5 years from now, they're going to cost more again. These things, finding efficiencies in the way that we spend and finding additional ways to increase revenue so that we can continue to grow and continue to keep the quality of lifestyle that we have here and the quality of security and keep everybody here employed as well as keeping everybody here with good roads and good parks and the reasons that we moved to this community. That's what you're here for. And you need to continue with that mission. So all of you are responsible for finding ways to fund those projects, which includes our contributions and includes your contributions in eliminating waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brazy.
Gentlemen, I probably won't make any friends here tonight. I think it was very well stated from Mr. Porter that look at this room. Look at all the, what do you got in the back of, it's kind of irresponsible to expect people to come up here and say something. This looks like intimidation. It's ridiculous. And as the gentleman over said, you have a responsibility as citizens. You have a responsibility to run a good budget. You have a responsibility to be accountable for that budget. And I'm not saying we need to cut everything under the sun, but you put it to a vote. The representation you got in this room tonight is not of this township. Put this thing up to a vote and see what you get. But there's nobody going to come down here and say something to all these guys standing in the back room. This is ridiculous. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Hanson?
May I take a moment, please?
If you could, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, you'll be able to speak after, whoever wants to go first. Everybody will be turn.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, okay, it's intimidating to have the police in the back of the room. Do you really think they're gonna give you a ticket for parking illegally out front? It's not about the police being here to intimidate us. And most of those guys back there are firemen. You know, they're there to put fires out in your house. You know, they're not there to give you a ticket. The police force in this neighborhood, in this township, they're a great bunch of people protecting us. You know, this area, I've been here, what, 15 years now, I guess we've been here. This area has really changed. We're not this little podunk township that used to be here. This is more of a city, even though it's not a city. We're next to the only city in Chester County. It's a dangerous place sometimes. And who are you going to turn to if somebody comes in and breaks in your house? You're going to call the state police. They'll be there in an hour or two. Meanwhile, the guy's gone with your stuff. You know, we have police that drive around this area, they keep an eye out on things, and they watch our backs. You can't cut that out, okay? And if there's a small price to pay for that, you gotta pay for that. You guys, I know you talk about putting this out to a vote to the people and all this stuff. We voted you guys in to have the goons to make the decision for us. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to make the decision for us. And everybody's, you know, if somebody wanted to come here and say they were against the tax, then they're against the tax. But, you know, you got to look at what people are saying. We want the protection. We want a safe place to live. We've moved here because it's a safe place to live. We want to keep that up. You get rid of the police force, you might as well kiss that away. We're just going to become part of Coachville. And people are going to come in here and do whatever they want. As it is, with the police force we have, you still have problems happening. But it's going to get worse if you eliminate all that. And, you know, excuse me for using the grammar that I've used, but, you know, we need you guys to do that. We don't need you to put it off again and go out to a vote to the people, because, you know, all the people that are in this room are all the people that are going to show up to vote, because nobody shows up to vote. You know that in the United States, you know, what, 10% of the people vote nowadays? We need you guys to make that decision. And the decision is to pass the budget and do what you have to do to make this place quality place to live like it's always been. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Before we go to the next public comment, I will say, I mean, I think the assertion that this is intimidating because there are police here is ridiculous. I mean, this is a public meeting, so anybody could be here. And as Mr. Hanson said, I mean, you know, there's also a lot of firefighter, EMS, township employees, township residents, so I personally, I think that's ludicrous. Next.
Joe, I really don't think, like, we would not like, there's been things said by other residents. I don't think it's an issue.
I think one thing this board needs to do is not comment on residents if they have, you know, want to come up and say their piece in front of the board. I mean, it's not your place to say what's ridiculous. No, I responded, I didn't call him ridiculous. I actually appreciate Mr. Scott's comments. He has every right to say his comments. I won't be rude to him. I won't make it where someone else might not want to stand up because some board member here is saying something to them. You should be polite and just let people have their say. And I don't think the board needs to comment in a rude way. You can have your own opinion, which you and I know, but I don't think we need to respond rudely to people going up.
you state your name, sir, for the...
My name is Robert Detweiler. I am not a resident of this township. However, I look at this venue that we're in tonight. Let's take everybody out of here. What is it going to be filled with tomorrow? It's going to be filled with a lot of children, okay? We're talking about response time for the state police. They're going to take a long time to get here. If we do not have a police department that can protect the children that are in this school during the day, I'm telling you right now, I've been a police officer for 20 years. There are people out there that are bad people. They research this kind of stuff. They know what a soft target is. If you don't have somebody here to protect these children, we fail. And gentlemen, you must complete this budget and pass it, not for the sake of the residents, but for the children. They're the future. And that's what's going to make this a plausible thing to do. The state police are not going to be able to respond in a timely manner. I'm not begrudging them in any way, but we need to keep our kids safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Susan Yeoman, Strasburg Road. I'm never in favor of a tax increase because I just like to make all my pennies great. But we have come up to the wall. Everybody has put it off and put it off. And I think you need to be the board that says we can't put it off anymore. On the other hand, I completely agree with Mr. Porter. I looked at those budget numbers when we left here at the last meeting, and from things that he said today that weren't on that budget, there is plenty of things on the budget that need to be looked at and seen where things can be adjusted, fixed. Sounds like there's a lot of broken things. And I say that come January 1st, all of the board, all of you and the new supervisor are charged with making sure those changes start to happen and that you look at those things and come back to us the next time we need a budget with not just a tax increase, but where you've straightened out a lot of the issues that have been let to go because it's easier that way. It might be easier, but in the long run, it's still everybody's budget. Thank you.
I guess I'll go ahead and do this too, because I'm sitting back there with people breathing down my neck, and it's very intimidating seeing last two meetings, people come up with a lot of emotion and attacking Mr. Porter, and I have ultimate respect for how you handled them. I thought that it was very professional and very something to look forward to. And I really think it's a bad idea to shove this through at the end of the year like this. I think you should take a fresh look at it on the first of the year.
Thank you. Chief Decker?
Yeah, just real quick, and this is my residence hat on again. Ms. Culp, I voted for you this year. I was unaware of your platform of Texas. I would be curious just to know what your feeling on this is. If you could come up and share your thoughts, I think for me and the residents, we greatly appreciate it. You're going to be filling that seat next year, so I know the vote doesn't reflect on you directly, but I'm just curious what you think about all this.
I'm a resident of the township also, and when I ran for office, there was other issues that I had on my heart that I wanted to be dealt with, and one of them was a red light on South County Westchester Road. I didn't want that to go into effect, so I thought the township could save money right there. I think it's close to $300,000 just for the red light. And I'm in favor of law enforcement, and I've called the police a few times at my house for gunshots in the middle of the night. And put on the spot, I don't know. I have to look at it and see what I plan to do. So, can't answer right now. I don't want to cut the police. I don't want to cut the, but I know the budget needs to be cut in different ways. There are certain things in there, wasteful spending, lawsuits of the township, things like that. And I want that to be looked at first and have that taken care of before we have a tax increase. And I would like to put it out to the taxpayers, to the township, and see what how they feel about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Cole.
And I did say no real estate tax, so I have to stand up for what I said.
My name is Thomas Nash, and I did request to speak.
Yes, we called you earlier, Mr.
I know you called me, but it's the first time that I've come for a long time to a township meeting. I want to see what everyone else had to say, you know, get my bearings a little bit more than anything. You know, I too believe in, police department, but my question that I submitted to the supervisors was, do we need the amount or the number of police that we have in this township? And I asked if there were some kind of figures or facts or whatever that could be presented to show the need for 13 police, both full and part-time. All right. I agree with the gentleman on the end. I don't want to rubber stamp any kind of a budget. I would like to see it scrutinized because I am retired, and I just don't want to see a waste being passed in the budget for whatever reason. Okay, and so that's basically what I had to say, and I would like to see it put to a vote also. Thank you. Oh, and I agree with the one gentleman that said Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Nash. Mr. Slide.
I wasn't actually going to speak tonight. Everybody, I think, has summed it up in all different sides, but I do want to address the board with a couple things. My comments got left out of the paper for space considerations last time. The one thing I did say that I wanted in there is I don't envy any one of you. I think you all are facing a very difficult decision, Mr. Porter. I'm probably one of the few people that always says that I appreciate how much you analyze all these things. No one in this room put us in this position, I don't believe. You guys didn't put the township in this position. The tax was repealed long before you were on the board. If it never got repealed, we wouldn't even sit here talking about it, because that money would have been sustained for the last however many years. The roads would have been kept improving. Now you're at the point where there's so much damage that's done, it's taking this step to repair the damage. So I don't blame you, and I know you're faced with this troubling decision whether or not that you want to do what's right for the taxpayers. We talk about cutting expenses. The fire department, we're no different. We just looked at our insurance policies, things like that. How can we save money? The dollars add up here and there, but you're looking at a deficit of a couple $100,000 is what this tax is going to help bridge. Is that correct? I mean, you can switch different brands of paper and different kind of pencils, but you're not going to make up that kind of deficit with the little tiny things you're doing for saving. And I understand that. We're doing everything we can to make those same savings. But in that same sense, the things that happened in 1985 and 1990, what they cost then don't cost that today. Fire truck costs $600,000, $700,000. Our fire station, for example, and I know Medina's fire station, the fire trucks that are built today don't fit in the fire stations that were built in the 1940s and 1950s. I don't design a fire truck. I can't dictate how big it is. That's the kind of things we have to adapt to. So we had to, at Westwood, we had to build on. We had to add room. That took money. We had to take out a mortgage. We're just like the homeowners. We have mortgages to pay. We have loans to pay. We've appealed to you as the leaders of the community, for the residents that expect our service, to help us pay for those things. And I, again, appreciate it. I come to almost every meeting, and I come to meetings for 6 different townships that we cover, and I see the same problems in all the different townships. And again, I don't envy you as the board having to sit here and make these decisions, but I'm at all these meetings, and I encourage all the other residents to come to the meetings, and you can see the things that go on all the time. But as I've been coming here for many years, I just stand here and see that I think that it's time for a change, and I'm sorry that you guys are the ones that have to be the ones dealing with it, but we appreciate what you've done, and I think all the residents here appreciate it as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Slack.